All right, for this video, we're going to be writing names and formulas of compounds that contain polyatomic ions. So for this first one, we have lithium phosphate. Now for lithium phosphate, we're going to need to know what phosphate is, and we're going to need to know the charge on lithium because we will swap, drop, ignore those charges. So lithium, you look it up, it's Li+, and phosphate is PO4 3-. So we're going to need these charges to cancel out. If this is plus and this is 3-, we'll need 3 of these plus ions to cancel out a 3-. You can also swap, drop, ignore. You can take this positive charge, swap it to phosphate, drop it to the bottom, ignore the plus or minus. You can take this 3 negative charge, swap it to lithium, drop it to the bottom, ignore the plus or minus. That'll give you Li, 3 at the bottom, because we had a 3 here, dragged it to the bottom. PO4, there was a plus, but no number up here, so we do not need to add an extra number down here. Notice I did not swap this 4 anywhere. This 4 in PO4 stays on phosphate. Never mess with these little subscripts on the polyatomic ion. Make sure to keep those the same. In the next example, we'll see what you need to, or what to do if you need to add a subscript to a polyatomic ion. So for magnesium nitrate, we'll find the charge on magnesium and we'll figure out what nitrate is. So magnesium is 2+, nitrate is NO3-. So notice the 3 is at the bottom, the minus is at the top. The 3 is not part of the charge. This 3 says that there are 3 oxygen atoms and 1 nitrogen atom stuck together in a polyatomic ion. And that whole polyatomic ion has a negative charge. The negative charge is what we swap, drop, ignore. It's what we use when we're trying to find the formula of the compound and making sure the charges cancel. Okay, that 3 is just part of NO3. So we're going to take this 2 from the 2+, drop it down here, negative, drop it down here. So we get Mg. Don't need to add a number because this was just negative. There was no number with it. Then we get NO3, but we need to add a 2 to the bottom. We don't want to just put a 2 here because that would make it 32, and that there are not 32 oxygens for every one nitrogen atom. What we do instead is we put parentheses around NO3. That says, hey, any number we put out here applies to this whole polyatomic ion. Then we take this 2, put it down there. So the formula is Mg parentheses NO3 parentheses 2. There are 2 nitrates for every 1 magnesium ion. Oh, and you do need to add parentheses even if it's around like hydroxide, a polyatomic ion that does not have a subscript in it, because if you add a subscript to a polyatomic ion, it needs to go around the whole thing and not just one of the elements. Okay, so now let's take a name and figure out, let's figure out the name from a compound. So this is Li2SO3. All you need to do to write the name for this is take the name of the first thing, lithium, and the name of the second one, SO3, and you can figure out that's SO3 2-, and that kind of reverse swap, drop, ignoring. And if you look up the name of SO3 2-, you'll see that's sulfite. So here's the name of this compound. This is lithium sulfite. Make sure you don't change the ending to IDE because that "ite" tells you what type of polyatomic ion it is. And the last one is Cu2SO3. We have sulfite here again, but this time we have copper. Now copper is a transition metal. It can be plus or 2+. Because of that, it's going to need Roman numerals in its name so that we know the charge on that copper ion. If we kind of reverse swap drop ignore, we can figure out the charge on that copper ion. This 2 came from sulfite. Now the 3 did not come from copper. Sulfite is this. That 3 was already on sulfite. We did not add anything to sulfite. There's no parentheses in the little subscript. So there's just kind of an invisible 1 over here, and that came from copper. So the ions involved are SO3 2- and Cu+. Because this is just a 1+ ion, this is going to be called copper 1. We write that as copper, parentheses, Roman numeral 1. Then we'll take the name of the polyatomic ion, which is sulfite. So the name of this compound is copper 1 sulfite.